Hey, what's going on everyone? My name's Griffin and welcome back to another episode on my channel. So today we're going to be looking at 10 frugal living hacks that will help you save money on a daily basis that you might not even be realizing you're spending money on. Now, as a millennial, I'm surrounded with excess spending at every single social occasion, but to me, saving money, even if it's in small quantities, is just as rewarding as if you smash that like button. And I know that for a lot of people, these small frugal living hacks can really add up over the years and highly contribute to a financial goal that you've set for yourself. Oftentimes, I've noticed that being frugal isn't necessarily about being cheap or missing out on fun activities. Cheapskate. But rather it's a cognizant mental switch about knowing what you're spending your money on and realizing that multiple small expenses here and there can really compound over time. So today's video is comprised of 10 frugal living hacks that I personally use on a daily basis, and I know for a fact that these are really gonna help you guys out in saving money. So the first frugal living hack is what I call purchasing affordable and reasonable clothing on an infrequent basis. Now, yes, I am aware of the fact that wearing nice clothing is important because it represents us in social situations. However, our society spends way too much money on clothing, and in my personal opinion, we simply buy too much of it. According to an article on The Motley Fool, the average person spends about $150 a month on clothing, which is roughly $1,800 a year. Now, I know $1,800 a year doesn't sound like all that much for clothing. However, considering the fact that the average income after tax is about $40,000 up here in Canada, that represents about 5% of your disposable income. And if you're buying designer pieces such as $300 Gucci flip-flops, I guarantee you're spending way too much money on clothing. And trust me guys, I've been there. When I was a teenager, I used to spend money on clothing about every single weekend. I used to buy new pieces all the time, and I didn't really realize that when you spend money on clothing like that at the store, you're basically torching that money because old clothing has barely no resale value. Like 99% of all clothing has no resale value at all. So it's just a huge waste of money and you only need your bare essentials. So cutting back on clothing expenses is definitely a must. And if you have to buy clothing, I would purchase it on the sale rack if you can. And I would also utilize the second frugal living tip that we're gonna look at right now. So following the first living hack, if you have to purchase clothing or pretty much anything else for that matter, I would first of all recommend purchasing it online because most of the time online pricing will be more competitive, and I would also benefit from online abandoned cart email sequences. So if you're not already aware of this, check this out. Most online e-commerce retailers have what's called an abandoned cart checkout sequence where they're gonna be sending you multiple emails after inputting your email address into the cart, but then abandoning the cart. Usually after about 5 hours, that online retailer is going to send you an email basically just reminding you that you have things in your cart, but most of the time after 24 or 48 hours, they're going to send you an incentive such as 10 or 15% off. So although you are still spending money here, if you absolutely have to buy something, buy it online and then also take advantage of that 15% because it's basically 15% right off the top of that item. This frugal living hack was actually brought to me by a couple of my friends who even have a full email address that's just used for this purpose instead of spamming their main primary email address. The third frugal living hack is pretty obvious but has a major impact on most people's monthly budget. I'm talking here about minimizing expenses on restaurants and fast food chains as much as possible. It's really no secret at all that spending money out at restaurants is usually a lot more expensive, but spending 10 or 15x the price of a meal on a restaurant on a regular basis is pretty fiscally irresponsible, especially if you have a tight budget. Look, don't get me wrong, I can value a good tasting meal and also the fact that you don't have to prepare it, but even eating out twice a week at a $30 meal represents about $240 spent on restaurants per month. That can make a significant dent in your budget and you still haven't even accounted for all the money that you're gonna be spending on the other food during that month. So I'm not saying don't eat out at restaurants and have no fun. Everyone's gonna go out once in a while, including myself, but if you have to go, I would first of all utilize coupons as much as possible because those really save up money. Also, avoid alcoholic beverages as much as possible because they're highly inflated in a restaurant setting. And then finally, you can strategically pick and choose which restaurants you're gonna go to, especially if you've been there before and you know the price of their menu. Another thing I wanna mention here is most fast food restaurant chains now have a mobile application, or even on their website, they have coupons that you can utilize. For example, when I go to A&W up here in Canada, I always use a coupon because you can save pretty much 50% on the exact same meal. The next frugal living hack is one I use day in and day out, and that is utilizing the most advantageous credit card reward points program at the current moment. I mean, pretty much everyone in this day and age has a credit card that racks up points, but you may not be utilizing the credit card points program that has the highest value for your purchases. I'll give you a quick example with my personal situation. So I have a Visa credit card that racks up 1 point per dollar spent, but each TD reward point in Canada is worth about half a penny. On the flip side, I also have an American Express Cobalt card, which racks up 5 points per every dollar spent on food, dining, groceries, and anything else in that category, and each point is worth 1 penny. So essentially every dollar I'm spending on the Amex card is giving me 5% back in points. If you want to know more about the American Express Cobalt card, then check out the video right here where I did an in-depth review of this credit card. The concept really remains the same though. You should always be utilizing the best reward program available, and if your current credit card doesn't have a good points program, you could consider switching cards or just getting a new one such as the American Express Cobalt card. Another really interesting thing about utilizing credit card point programs is in Canada you can't really do this as much because the sign-up bonuses aren't as advantageous, but in the United States, for example, I know a lot of credit cards have crazy sign-up reward bonuses, some of them going up to even 50, 60,000 points just on signing. And that amount of points can represent even more than one full round domestic trip in the United States. So definitely look into churning credit cards like that if that's something that interests you. And this leads me into the fifth frugal living hack, which is only traveling once you have enough travel reward points to cover the whole expenses of this trip. Now, hear me out on this one because I know traveling is a lot of fun and you're creating memories, but the fact of the matter is it's really expensive and can really slow down achieving your financial goals. So by utilizing the last hack that we just looked at and then combining that with patience, I can guarantee you that by usually about the 1 year mark, you'll be able to cover a significant amount of your travel expenses with credit card reward points. Case in point, this fall I'm traveling to California, and the entire flights there and back for both me and my girlfriend were both covered with the Amex points that I've been racking up for about 1 year now. And one other thing to mention here is if you're really adamant on traveling, you have the travel bug or whatever, you can definitely budget $20 to $50 per paycheck into a separate savings account so that you can slowly build up towards a trip over the course of a couple months or a year, and you're not going to be gouging your bank account of like $2,000 or $3,000 when you want to go on a trip. All right, the next frugal living hack is a combination of two things that we're gonna cover pretty quickly. Number one being purchase as many items as possible at the grocery store that are on sale, and if there's something that you're gonna be utilizing a lot over the coming months and it's on sale now, purchase as much as possible in bulk so that you're saving money over a longer period of time. For example, the last time I went and did groceries, I realized that the exact same toothpaste I always use was on sale at 50% off, so I bought like 10 tubes, and I know it's a really cliche example, but honestly, it's gonna save me about $6, $7 over the coming months, so why not? The second thing here, I know it's gonna trigger a lot of millennials, but that is making your own dang coffee at home and bringing it into the office instead of buying it at Starbucks or Second Cup, whatever coffee shop that's charging you like $5 for a cup of coffee. According to Business Insider here, millennials spend more money on coffee every single month than they put towards their savings account. And guys, I'm not telling you that you need to settle for crappy cups of coffee that don't taste good. You can buy an espresso machine for like $140, and then you buy the coffee grounds in bulk, which ends up costing you about 25 cents per coffee. And you probably could have guessed this, but that's exactly what I did, and the exact same venti sized cup of iced coffee that I make every single day with 1 shot of toffee nut syrup in it costs about $6.50 at Starbucks, versus for me it costs about 25 cents, meaning that after about 23 or 24 days, I've already paid off the entire cost of that coffee machine, and then after that, it's just a quarter a day moving forward. Do your own calculations, but the math really just speaks for itself in this situation. The last frugal money tip for today's video is more of a general shift in attitude and behavior towards understanding that spending your money in certain categories is highly important, and properly budgeting your money is really gonna help you reach your financial goals. Everyone has basic living living expenses, but not understanding where your money is going every single month for every transaction is a surefire way to spend money on useless things that you really don't need. If you're really interested in learning more about budgeting effectively for each different spending category, then I'd recommend that you check out this video right here, where I went over how I was able to save about $20,000 in less than 6 months by budgeting my money effectively and strategically. No matter what anyone says, budgeting is the foundation of financial success, and not doing so correctly is going to really hinder your chances at reaching your financial goals. So I would recommend learning how to budget effectively for each different spending category. So that's really it for today's video, guys. I really hope that these frugal living hacks are going to help you guys save money on a daily basis. If it did, make sure to like this video and also comment down below some of the different frugal living hacks that you guys have used over the years to save you money. I'm super interested in knowing what you guys do, and also consider subscribing to the channel. We talk here about personal finance, investing, business, and a ton of other really interesting topics. So on that note, I'll see you soon.